What's with this champagne weapon here? There's no opening for the gun barrel or anything. The bottle is corked shut with even this metal thing holding it back, yet it still fires ink somehow. Or what's going on with the triple ink strike 2? You launch down missiles from the sky with this one, but how does it still work when you're under a bridge, for example, or under any object for that matter? Today, we're gonna be taking a look at the original Squid Games, i.e. Splatoon, because there are a bunch of weird things going on in this game. Yes, welcome back to the series where we apply real-life logic into video games. This time we're looking at 30 things that don't make sense in Splatoon 3. How were the inklings able to jump an entire map's distance in a single leap? Yet you can only jump like 3 feet off the ground when normally jumping in squid form. Like, what is this pathetic little hop? Just let me use the super jump that I can only use to jump to a teammate for some reason. Even in Salmon Run, these squids do it too. How come different clothes give you random powers and abilities? They have nothing to do with the actual clothing either. Like a mask that makes you run faster, or a shirt that makes you jump quicker. But weirdest of all are these sandals that give you a speed increase. So now you'll run faster in sandals than you do in running shoes. When you transform into a squid, where does all your clothing go? The body of the inklings can transform, but their clothes can't, yet they even reappear when transforming back into an inkling. From nowhere even, they just appear. The inklings' one sole weakness is water, as their body dissolves when touching it. This created a bunch of questions in my head due to this. Like, what do these squids even drink in all these cans? Are the watermelons at the store deadly to eat? What comes out of your sinks in this place? And who waters the plants here? Because that's a dangerous job. Also, given how deadly water is to inklings, why would they surround a lot of the maps you play on with water? I thought this was like a fun little sport they play, but I guess not when you're circling the field with lava, essentially. And finally, how are inklings able to walk on the snow as seen in the story? Considering snow is made of entirely water, and you're not even wearing shoes here, so I don't know why your feet aren't dissolving at this point. How come some of the maps just seem like the worst locations that you can play matches in? Like, why would you have a turf war in a grocery store of all places? Are they really gonna sell these products with ink all in them now? Or worst of all, how about an art gallery? Like, what? This is probably the last thing that should be near this place. These are expensive works of art that you're ruining with ink. Who allowed this? Why is there like this weird obsession to make everything in a shape of a squid in the Splatoon universe? I've never seen a species just so focused on the shape of their people, with even the scales at a grocery store or the buttons of a stoplight in the shape of one. It even gets to an impractical degree here, like how phones are in the shape of squids too. That is such an awkward shape to watch a movie on. How come to buy anything, you just use local currency, but if you want to buy a gun, then you just hand the guy a ticket? Who goes into a weapon store, hands the cashier a coupon, and then walks out with a gun? This is like getting a prize at the carnival. What are the gun laws around here? How do you actually refill your weapons in this game? You have this ink tank, but it's totally separate and not connected to your gun. Plus your guns also have a separate tank, so now there's like 2 tanks now, which is the real one. And certain other weapons don't have an ink tank on the gun at all, so I don't even know where those get the ink from. How come with the roller and paintbrush weapons, you can't spread around the ink on the ground? The whole job of those weapons is to spread ink around, but it only works if you're like using fresh ink, I guess. The ink doesn't even move or get smudged, like damn. How come these shop vendors have all these items on display outside, but they don't actually have any of these items for sale in the shop itself? Like what? You're not even selling the hats that you're advertising right outside your store? I got clickbaited. Shiver has the job of a newscaster in this game, but I think she should start doing magic or something instead. Within a single frame, she vanishes a mask and makes a fan appear in its place. That is some excellent sleight of hand. How come all the salmonoids just turn around and walk away at the end of every round? Like a second ago, you were coming at me trying to kill me with the frying pan, but oh, round's over, can't attack you then. That would be cheating. Also, how come you always get a random weapon between the different rounds of Salmon Run? How does that work even? Do they just bring all the weapons with them, then spin a wheel amongst themselves to determine what they get? This is a job here, and guys are screwing around like this between rounds. I don't know how Mr. Grizzly hasn't fired you yet. How come you can just phase through the gates when in squid form? It's not like you're slipping through the holes or anything, because you're still way bigger than those small gaps. But then, for other gates, you simply can't go through them at all. So this weird phasing ability only works sometimes as well. How does hair work for the inkling and octolings? Is their hair just tentacles? And if so, what is that round, smooth part of their head? Is that just a bunch of tentacles, like tucked in or scrunched up or something? Do they cut off their tentacles when changing hairstyles, like this afro for example? And does it hurt if you cut off a tentacle or when you twist your hair? Ugh, too many questions with this one. The fact that there is a giant inkling amiibo creates a load of questions here. Like, do these people know they're in a video game? Do they know who that guy Mario is? Or are they aware that Nintendo made them? Is Nintendo then considered to be a god to the inklings since Nintendo created everything in this universe too? Why do all the people, or sea creatures I should say, stand around the plaza the whole time without moving or doing anything? Some will be like on their phones or something, but most just stand around posing, not even walking, just staring blankly at something for infinite time. Are you guys scheming up an evil plan? Look at this sketchy ass Jinjin over here. He is definitely plotting something in this corner. I would not trust that guy for anything. How can you actually swim in all these different surfaces? Like, there's just a small layer of ink on the surface, and when in squid form, you're about that tall, yet you're totally submerged when swimming. Meaning, you're swimming in the solid objects and the ink. Look, you even noticeably drop down into it, so you're clearly swimming in stone, wood, or even metal surfaces somehow. We already mentioned how a lot of stages have this like water moat around the area so you don't leave since water makes you disintegrate. But what about the maps without water? Well, you still disintegrate, but in air this time. It's not like you're dying from the fall damage because you haven't even hit the ground yet, so what kills you here? Where do the inklings keep their special weapons when they're not using them? Like, from your pocket, you'll just pull out a giant hammer, a shark floaty, or even a mecha crab robot. Where were you keeping that thing? How come all three of the newscasters will be in the news set like 24/7 and never leave? Obviously, when you're live it makes sense, but even when their broadcasts end, they still chill there and do nothing. What kind of newscasters just stay on set even when they're not recording? Now that is some serious job dedication. Where do all the actual levels in the story even take place? Like, you'll be walking down a crater, then teleport using this teapot, and suddenly you're at the bottom of the crater that was previously sealed up, but now you're inside with a bunch of giant TVs. And then you get taken to more random places, like this upside down city. So are these levels like dreams or something? And also, why are there just these giant floating objects in many of these places as well? I mean, as far as I know, the Splatoon universe has similar gravity to the Earth. You're not in outer space or anything, yet these massive objects are staying afloat. Damn, I actually think these levels are dreams after all. How do these telescopes work here? Or, sorry, viewing stations, I guess? Because I don't see a scope. In fact, I don't see much of anything here. You just randomly get an overhead view as the camera just goes upwards. How come none of the different ink colors ever mix with another color? Everyone is constantly covering the battlefield with wet ink, yet the colors stay perfectly separate. That's some crazy ink repellent that you have on the inks there. Why is it that even though the inklings are shown to be made up of their own colored ink, when they die, they explode, but with the opponent's ink color and not their own? Also, if you remember, just a few weeks ago, this channel only had 3% of viewers that were subscribed. But we've already brought that up to now 6%, so thank you. Now, if we could bump that up to like 10%, that would be amazing. So subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and as always, let me know more things that don't make sense to you in the comments. See ya!